us to mute ourselves?
No, you guys are good. Yeah, because well, you know, it's gonna be very interactive. I want to get your take and feedback on kind of where we're at with the population, overpopulation. Are we overpopulated? Are we okay? You know, this is another. We have so many balls in the air that we're trying to. This is a crazy time, right, Joe? Doesn't it feel like it? There's so many things that are happening all at one time, and some of them are critical. So this may be or may not be critical. We'll see, and I'll share some information with you. So let's see. Usually the Sobos join us. We'll give them about another minute, and then we'll get started. And whoever joins in, will just kind of join in.
Okay.
But yeah, this was a very interesting topic, and the more you dig in and do research, the clearer the picture becomes. We always get a one-sided picture. So I'll share with you all that I've discovered and get your take on it, and then we'll see what you think options might be. What are some good options? Is going to another planet a good option? Who would have thought we'd ever be discussing this seriously? This is stuff of science fiction, but it's no longer science fiction. There are teams of scientists and countries that are taking this very, very seriously. So we'll discuss that. So why don't we get started? Let me just kind of get your feedback. Who thinks right now that we are overpopulated?
Who's we?
All of you guys, I want to get your opinion. Do you get the sense that we are there, we're near there, or are we okay?
In the whole world, or?
Yeah, we're going to talk globally now. Yeah.
Did you have an opinion, Susan?
No, I'd be guessing.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, do you feel like we're okay, Susan, right now in terms of population?
Well, we're probably overpopulated, but what are you going to do?
Okay.
Make
So,
room for more people.
okay.
Well,
All right.
I've for 20, 40 years, I've been concerned about population growth, and I thought 7 billion might be tops at, and now we're at 9 or whatever.
Uh-huh. Hi, Angie. Well, we're close. We're not there yet, but yes, I thought the same thing too.
I'm concerned. I'm very concerned.
Okay. Tomas?
I'm not concerned.
You're not concerned, Greg? Why not?
It's a big world, and some countries may be a little overpopulated, but I think the good Lord, when he made us all, had something in mind, and that was, well, reproducing mankind. And if this pandemic continues, we may have a lot of reproducing to do.
Right. And I like what you said, and I want to close with that too, about, you know, God and nature and everything else. Tomas, before we go to Angie, what is your take? Do you feel like we're at critical mass? Are we okay? Or are we headed towards destruction?
I think it's a question of what you mean by overpopulation. It's it's somewhat of a national issue, and I think there are probably too many human beings who are not really human on the world.
Yes. Okay, I like that. I agree with that too, for sure. But you feel like we're okay in terms of, and I mean globally. I'm just going to talk about the entire Earth now.
I really don't know what the population situation is globally and how unequal it is.
Okay.
And how much it's driven by poverty. Because many times it's driven by poverty rather than choice. Do we populate by choice? Not really. It's a tradition.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Angie, what do you think? Where are we?
I think it's concerning, really, you know, because, I mean, like if you look at India or China, it's overwhelming. Africa, and, you know, how about water supply, food supply? Yeah, I think we need more education, not to have so many children.
Good. Do you feel like we're at critical mass? You think we're headed there? Hi, Molly.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Very concerned.
Very concerned. Who knows what the population is now? Hi, Molly.
Is it 4 million, 4 billion, something?
No, close though, but no. Anyone? She said 4 billion. Who else? Give me another guess.
I thought it was 7 billion.
Could be 7, yeah. China and India already 3 billion or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So it's 7.3 billion. Did you ever think that you would ever hear that as a sum total for people?
Yeah.
I think in our minds, I was going through this and I said in our minds, I think we have a number that we last remember. Who remembers the last time when you were aware of the population? When it was a wow. Well, what number did you have? Do you have stuck in your mind?
4 billion.
4 billion? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah? You guys remember? Greg, what do you remember?
Well, and where did it
I
40
really don't remember, but I know that China put a limitation on couples having children
Yeah,
2 years ago.
absolutely. Yeah,
And now I think it's come back to bite them in the rear end.
absolutely. Yeah.
And they're finding out that they better let people have children or they're gonna, they're gonna cause big problems for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to talk about that also.
And
Yeah.
I have no great admiration for the Chinese. I have some good Chinese friends here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
What they've done with several things, including literally letting this virus out of the bag, really bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk about China and what you discussed because they are headed towards, there's a couple countries that are actually it kind of like an emergency status, not quite, but we'll talk about that and what that could mean because we're talking about people here. This is not something that you can throw money at. So this has to be managed properly or else we could really be in for trouble. Hi, Molly. Can you hear us, Molly?
I can. I'm making it so I can hear you.
Okay. How is it now? Are you good?
Perfect.
Have you been listening to us?
No, I just arrived.
Okay. So we were talking about the Earth, the globe, the entire Earth being overpopulated. Do you know about that? Do you feel like we are overpopulated? Have you thought about it at all?
No.
Okay, good.
Too many
Right.
people in California.
Yeah. So it is a concern for some people. We're at 7.3 billion people. For me, I remember the last number for me was 5 billion. I was like, wow, when we hit 5 billion, I was like, that's amazing. And when I looked and I saw it was 7 billion, I said, when did that happen? Like, how? It's incredible. So let's go over the numbers real quick. So 1800s, right? Around the 1800s, there was 1 billion people. I'm sure for them, that must have been like, wow, this is incredible, right? 1 billion people.
Wow.
And then around 1760 is when we got the first spike, population spike. We saw it because it's always been steady, and then all of a sudden it went on an upward. What happened in 1760 that caused it to go this way?
Industrial revolution.
Absolutely. The Industrial Revolution caused our growth to go in a very incline, so which is really incredible. So that was the first time in our history where we saw a very big peak. We're seeing another big peak now, and I'll get to the second peak that we had. But that's when so with that came a medicine, advancements in medicine and healthcare. Europe was trashy. Now we now became more orderly and clean and sanitary. So that caused our lifespan to expand. People were living longer because back then they said you had about 5, 6, 7 kids, and you were lucky if 3 of them survived into adulthood because all the diseases.
Medicine. Medicine came into broader use, and so the child morbidity dropped, children became older, then they married, and then it produced more children. And people living longer, having
Yes.
larger families, and general improvement in economic status all over the world.
Right.
Made a difference.
It made a huge difference. And you know, modern medicine really started in Germany. That's where they had the first pharmaceutical school. So that made a huge difference. Yeah.
And then, of course, the Nazis basically propagated more children, but the better.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Children, right, right. Yeah.
So so by the 1900s, we had 1.6 billion. So not that bad, right? What really did us in was the 20th century, because from 1900s to 2000 and 2001, we went from 1.6 billion to 6.1 billion in one century. That is so that's the second huge spike. And if you notice that these spikes happen whenever there's a big boom in technology and inventions, and you know, science makes leaps in science. But look at that spike. That is such a huge spike. That's not even gradual. That's just off the charts. And then it's been exponential since then. You know, we went from 6.1 to where we are now is 7.3 billion. Yeah, Greg.
Quick question about the spike or spikes. In what countries did they happen in the 20th century?
Well, mostly the United States definitely grew exponentially. Other regions, I would say Africa definitely grew. Europe started to grow also. I can't section it off because it's so large. Europe is so large, but definitely because Europe was always, Europe had trouble with mortality. So once medicine and everything started to come in, now they started to do better. But I couldn't be able to tell you specifically which country.
Were China and India big contributors?
Well, India, yes. China, no, because China, you know, they went through their own ethnic cleansing, if you will. So they've always gone up and down, you know, with Chairman Mao and all this other. So with population, it's hard to track that because you lose so many. Even with Russia, Russia lost millions, you know, with their own ethnic cleansing. So it's kind of hard to track that number. So it goes up and down. So yeah, so here we are now. So we're at 7.3 billion. So you brought up some good points, Angie. If we're overpopulated, one of the main concerns is, can we feed everyone, right? So food has to be the big thing, you know? Then also their resources, because now more people are gonna be consuming more resources. The one thing that we do know about Mother Earth is that things are finite. It's not gonna last forever. And I think that's where that train is gonna come to a cross. You know, right now, we are right now, if we continue to consume the way we do, we could be headed for a problem where there are just more people, but less resources. Now we're gonna be fighting over resources. Can anyone see that or foresee that? With water, they're saying there's 1.1 billion people who lack water right now. 1.1 billion people who don't have access to running water or clean water. But they're saying by 2025, 2/3 of the world, if we continue the way we are, there'll be 2/3 of the world will experience water shortages. Okay.
By when?
By 2025.
Wow.
If we continue at this rate.
That's soon.
That's soon. That's soon. And this is why now overpopulation is becoming a big topic. You know, Bill Gates is talking about that. Elon Musk has his own theories, but we can live a while without food. We can't live very long without water. That's almost like oxygen. So this is where it becomes a very dangerous thing if there are water shortages.
And we have a water shortage problem here in California.
In California.
Big.
Right here in the U.S. Now, could you
Right
imagine?
Right here in California. We don't
right.
even have to leave our state boundaries.
So Greg, how would you solve that? How do you solve a water crisis or shortage?
Well, I think just to the west of us here at Wesley Palms, we have God's Pacific Ocean. I think it's the largest body of water in the world.
Yeah.
I think more desal plants to convert the water. I know it's sometimes expensive. We have one of the plants right here in San Diego County now, as you know. near Carlsbad someplace, I think. And
But what is the major water use? It's not necessarily in drinking. It's in processing of all sorts of materials, which water is used, obviously.
Landscaping.
Landscaping.
washing our hands many times a day. Now,
Agriculture is a very much, it's not the landscaping, it's a major agriculture.
Right.
So how can we taper that? What are some ideas that you would say to be able to taper this?
Make it more expensive.
Make it more expensive?
Yeah, it will cut it down.
Mm-hmm.
Industrial
Agriculture.
use,
more desal plants again.
recycling.
Mm-hmm. Diesel plants. This is, and Angie, did you want to say something?
In agriculture, maybe we have to change the way we grow food.
Yeah.
We can do it with it, in buildings and so on, things like that.
Yeah. And that can be done, can't it? There are a lot of habits and things that we can't change. With technology, we can do that. Susan, what is your take? What do you think?
You lost me. I got out of that.
Okay. And Molly, what do you think, Molly?
I think we need water.
Yeah.
I don't know how to mix all these.
I think, again, it's one of those things where they're not really speaking about this. It's one of those things that we can do collectively, start to change our habits. We waste a lot of water. Right? We have the technology now where you could get artificial, grass to replace real grass where it just looks the same. How much would that save if we were to go to that? Do we really need real grass? In some places, yes, like national parks and stuff like that. But in a backyard where, do you really need as much grass?
But, even with the washing machines, and dishwashers, and we waste so much water. There are different kinds of dishwashers too, washing machines. Here they use a lot of water circulation.
Yes.
And there are others, they need so much less water.
This is true. This is true. Well, you brought a good point, because they said between the US and UK or Europe, between US and Europe, we consume 80% of all the resources in the world. But we only make up 15% of the whole population. We are the biggest consumers. And that's where we need to be a little bit, I think, be just a little bit more responsible. There's a lot of things that we consider luxuries that we really don't need. But the rest of the world, for them, those are, they don't have access to these things. So I don't know. I really don't know what the solution would be. Very interesting. So that's where we are right now in terms of, population, food, resources. This is why it's concerned. They're not so much concerned about food because this is what they believe, that they can take care of that with GMO, that they can use genetically modified organisms where they can be able to handle the food production. I'm just putting out, but water is one thing that they haven't been able to have a response for. Yeah. I'm not crazy for genetically modified organisms, but they say that this is how they're going to be able to feed the rest of the world if there is a food shortage. All right. So let's take a quick snapshot around the world as to what's going on around the world right now. All right. There's something called fertility rate. Has anyone heard of that, fertility rate? Yeah. So basically there's two kinds. There's one, what's a fertility rate that's needed for a society to maintain itself, meaning, one person dies, one person is born. And then there's one where women, this is the actual number, what women are producing, whether it's 2 kids, 3 kids, this is the average. So, and you can go to microtrends.net and get all this information. It's really cool. They'll tell you what country, what's going on with every country. So the US right now, our fertility rate is 1.77. So that means that we're averaging 1.7 children, right? Per woman who's fertile. This is only fertile women. So the CDC said we're at the lowest since 1979. Hey, Jay. Let me go ahead and unmute you. All right. So we're actually on a downward trend in the US. And you can see that there are a lot of people who are not having 5, 6 kids anymore. It's about 2 kids. A lot of young people are not having kids at all or waiting a lot longer to have children. So we're not on the upward right now, okay? Who do you think has the lowest fertility rate in the world? Who do you think is producing the lowest amount of children per woman?
I think, you know, in Europe, I think it was Italy.
You're close.
Very, yeah.
Yeah, there is a problem with Italy. We're going to talk about that, but they're not the lowest, but you're close.
Okay, which one?
So it's Taiwan right now. 1.2 children per fertile female. 1.2. Who do you think is the highest?
Somewhere in Africa.
It is in Africa, yeah. Yeah, so Niger is 6.4.
Oh my.
6.4. So let's talk about Italy. You brought up Italy. So Italy right now is having trouble with population. They average about 1.2 child. Their fertility rate is about 1.2 children. Okay, which is not a lot at all. And it's been dropping since the 1960s, they said. So Angie, you kind of knew that, huh?
Yeah, and you know, I found it surprising because you think about, you know, at least when I was a child, you know, Italy, they had a lot of children, la mama, etc. You know.
I was surprised too. Yeah, you don't associate that with Italy, but there's a serious problem right now. They're calling it almost an emergency right now, because, and yeah, it's scary. So they're saying what contributed to that is that they never really recovered from the crash of 2008. So people are not willing right now. They're working longer, they're paying more taxes, and they're saying the last thing I want is to have a kid. So they're not. They lost 150,000 of their residents because there were no jobs in Italy. So 150,000 people just left Italy. That doesn't help the population at all. So they're saying that they're headed into a crisis right now. The economy is very bad. Unemployment in Italy is 35%. In Italy. That's incredibly high. So when you're not employed, the last thing you want is to be making new babies, right?
You have to
right, Molly?
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to fix this. Just to give you an example, there's a town in Sicily. So in the 1950s, they had 3,700 residents. Today, they have 800 residents.
Yeah.
800 residents.
They are growing very old there. You know, I was last year in Sicily and it hasn't changed since 20 years, only old people. And it's the poorhouse of Italy. Not, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's surprised by that? Hey, Jay, does that surprise anyone?
No.
That this is happening in Italy? And the reason why it's a problem here is the young kids right now are leaving because they're saying, I can't stick around. There are no jobs. And Italy, right? Huh?
How's this tied in with the virus? Italy was hit very hard by the virus.
Yeah. So everywhere that I looked, they factored in and said that these numbers don't include COVID because they just don't know what the final numbers. But they got hit pretty badly too, as well. We just don't know which demographic it is. You know, if it's younger people, that's going to be catastrophic. You know, because right now they're second to Japan in terms of senior population. So if you're going to have a high population senior class and no younger youth class, where are you going to draw the support from? Where are you going to draw the economics from? Where's the money going to come from? So Italy right now is trying to figure out what they can do. They were thinking immigration would help, but they put a stop on immigration right now. That was helping them. So where are the babies going to be born? Where are they going to have the manpower to continue with that society? So yeah, so that's what's happening in Italy. Let's talk about China. You spoke about China before. So in 1950, how many people do you think were in China? 1950, take a guess. Take a wild guess.
1 billion.
50 is before the
Revolution?
child, one family.
Right, it is before that.
Position.
So what would you say, Jay? Take a wild guess.
Well, you know, I'm trying to remember the population of China.
100 billion, definitely.
Yeah, so it's 1.4 billion.
1.4, that's
1.4.
yeah.
So in 1950, it was 500 million.
Whoa.
500 million.
Ah,
So that's when they enacted what you were saying, Jay, the one-child policy, which would sound like a good idea, right? Isn't that a good way to slow the population?
it was very
I thought so.
What year was that? When was it when child policy?
They put that after the 1950s. I think it was around the 1960s they started to put that in, where they started to doing forced sterilization and they would fine you if you had children.
So it's 40 years ago.
Yeah,
60.
about 60 years ago. Yeah, which is not that long ago.
Yeah.
That is a huge spike.
Well, I think they only imposed that limit in the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't impose it in the countryside, I'm sorry, in the cities.
Oh.
But I don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
Allowed different ethnicities to have more children.
Right.
Children.
But I would say what, 2 or 3 max, I think it was, maybe max.
But you know, the problem was they only wanted boys.
Yes.
And
So
they really had a problem. They couldn't find a bride anymore.
this is part of the problem that they're having right now. So doing the one-child policy, that brought them down to 1.6. So that what they needed was 2.1 to maintain the society. So right now they're scrambling. So they got rid of that in 2015. They repealed. So you can have 2 children now.
Mhm.
But still, that hasn't changed those habits. Now they're going to have about 300 million seniors that are going to, going to seniorhood, and there's less people to be able to take care of them. So right now the stats are 1 child is taking care of 6 people, basically. So if you have a parent, you're taking care of your parents, and then if your grandparents are still around, you're taking care of 2 sets of parents now. So those are 6 people, 6 to 1. There's no way that the society can sustain itself.
Yeah.
There's no way, especially if you're living longer now. So that's where this one-child policy is now starting to bite them. It's coming back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So they're saying the dependency, there's something called the dependency ratio. And they're saying that by 2050, China will have more retirees than Germany, Japan, France, and Britain put together. Okay, more retirees. So this is going to be a major problem, especially if you don't have enough young people to help support the system. So I don't really know where that money is going to come from, but I think that could crash their economy possibly. Let me unmute. Hey, Tony. Let me go ahead and unmute you.
Hello.
How are you? Good to see you.
Oh, good to see you, Anthony.
Thank you, buddy. Did you unmute yourself? I can hear you. Okay. All right, so that's China. So let's go to the third country now. Japan. What's going on in Japan? Anyone know what's going on in terms of population?
It's going down. I forgot by how much.
Yeah, it is going down. So in 2010, there were 128 million people. And then in 2020, they hit 127 million. So the first time in their history, they actually now it has shrunk. The population has shrunk. Could you imagine that?
What was it first?
It was 128 million in 2010. And now it's at 127 million, 159. So the first time Japan in its history is now has reduced their population. They're saying that if they continue this rate, that at 1 million per year, that 2110 they could be at 42 million. This is a ridiculous number. We don't really need to worry about that. We never know what could happen. But what's happened? Huh?
Just laughing.
Oh yeah. But what's happening now is that they surveyed 37,000 young people to get their take on it. And the young kids, they said 33% of them do not want to get married.
Mhm. Yeah.
33% of the Japanese, there's a lot of social anxiety there. There's a lot of awkwardness with the genders. So boys and girls feel very awkward talking to each other. So what they're doing now is using these sex robots and using this, yeah, as an option, because there's so much anxiety going on in Japan right now. So they're having a big major problem in terms of getting the young people to buy in and have children and be married. They don't want to. Isn't that crazy?
What's a sex robot?
I'm going to leave that to your imagination, Tomas. Joan, you'll have to Google it and share it. No, this is real. That they're using these artificial, and they look good. They look real, but they're using these as sex partners and relationship partners.
Well, I have a half Japanese grandson living in the United States, age 35, single, still living with his mother.
Wow. You see?
I have no idea about his.
And that's very common in Japan. That's very common.
Happening in Japan, I guess, too.
And another thing that they're doing is instead of socializing, they're in front of the computer or playing these video games.
Yeah.
And they literally have to send them, like parents have to pull the child out of the room, and there's these places you can go to rehabilitate the child. Like they're becoming almost an anti-social, not in a negative way, but there's major social problems in Japan. But have you heard about that?
No.
The social, have you had, Greg?
They should go back to about 1957. And I'm not sure if he was emperor yet, maybe just prince. And he found a commoner. Her name was Michiko Shoda. We had a song for that in the Navy when I was over that way. And we'll drink a scotch and soda to Michiko Shoda on Imperial Wedding Day.
Yeah, Japan has changed a lot since then, for sure. But yeah, that's a good story.
Japan is always difficult in sex. It's the women and men were always separate so much. It was a very strange combination, very different.
Yeah, yeah. They're not very fluid.
And now they don't know how to go. They're just going 180 degrees now, I think.
Right. And it's so interesting because you don't really, these things we take for granted, you don't realize that this could be a problem. If you have a huge section of society that just aren't producing babies, you're going to have a shortage now, because that's how societies and civilizations move, is that you have to produce babies to replace the people who pass away. But when you're running at a deficit with that, that can be catastrophic to the system. Yeah. And that's kind of what we're talking about in terms of overpopulation. So I kind of covered Sweden is doing something interesting, because they're trying to be very preemptive with this. So they're offering people 480 days off if they have a child. That's pretty cool. So they're incentivizing people to have children in Sweden.
What do they offer?
They're offering 480 days combined. So a husband and wife can use up to 480 days for maternity leave.
Oh.
And those are paid days?
Those are paid days.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically the national policy. It's nationwide.
In Sweden, yes.
Yeah.
In Sweden, yes.
In Germany, in European countries, they go much more for that. And especially the men too, they can take the father town also, which is very good. And
yes.
It's very well.
So I think that might be a solution for countries who are having a population problem. What do you guys think? Incentivizing them that way.
Yeah, good way.
Give them time off, right? And it's good for the baby, because now the baby has the parents around, and I think it's good all around.
Yeah, but that makes it a national policy. And so that it still has so many different nations, small nations and larger nations. And so I don't know how this thing numerically would work out.
Yeah. So that's another thing. I don't know where that money is going to be coming from, or subsidized. Is that what you're saying?
Right, sure.
Yeah.
You have to be rich enough to subsidize it.
Maybe it has to be coming from the taxes somehow. Maybe people are buying into it. If enough people buy into it and they're okay with paying the taxes, then it's not a problem, I guess. At least it's working for Sweden. I don't know how that would work for other countries, but I think that's a good way to circumvent this problem before it becomes a problem.
But taxes are very high in Sweden, especially for rich people. Very, so yeah.
As it should be, right?
You know.
The high earners, I would think, just common sense should pay more taxes. I just think common sense. It makes. Jay, Tony, do you guys want to chime in and offer an opinion on what we're talking about so far?
I pass.
Okay. So what we're doing is kind of what Jay?
If Tony passes, I pass too.
Okay. So basically what we're talking about, whether we are overpopulated, trying to get an accurate snapshot of this. Some people say that we're headed towards there. We're not there yet. Some people say the magic number is 10 billion people globally, that we're trying to avoid getting there. We're at 7.3 right now. So everywhere is experiencing a downward trend except for one continent. What continent do you think that is?
Africa.
Absolutely, yeah. So Africa is absolutely on the upward trend where everyone else is going downwards.
Well, we have to start to populate other planets, right? And we're beginning to think in that direction, right?
Yes, we are. And we're going to talk about that last. We're going to talk about and see if that's really an option, because it doesn't look like a very good option right now.
I won't be around long enough to become a moon man myself.
You don't want to experience that? You don't want to see that happen?
It may happen, but well after my lifetime.
Yeah, so you really think that might happen, huh?
I don't know. They're looking at Mars. They're looking at other places.
Yeah.
That may be able to sustain life as we know it. I mean, we put people on the moon. Yeah. They were there with their extra oxygen and their spacesuits and everything else. You know, one great step for man and a huge step for mankind. But we still don't have anybody living up there.
All right, so can I get a show of hands? Who thinks that we'll be successful to be able to colonize another planet? Who thinks we'll succeed with that? Tony, you do, huh? Okay. Tell me why. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they're going in that direction. I mean, it's starting. We're right in the beginning of all that. Mm-hmm. So, but in years to come, it's bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. How long do you think? If you were to guess, just give me an idea.
We'll have colonies on other planets in 50 years.
In 50 years? Starting with Mars?
Maybe Mars.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Mars is the only one we really, they were going to go to Venus, but Venus is just too hot. They're saying that there's no way that we can live on the surface of Venus because it's extremely hot. Even though it would make sense because Venus is actually a little bit closer to us than Mars is. But they say Mars is the closest to Earth in terms of habitation. But I want to share with you all the challenges, because there's a whole bunch of challenges to living on Mars. Can you guys tell me what some of the challenges you think might be before we go into this?
Oxygen.
Yep.
Having enough oxygen.
That's pretty.
So complicated. There are no resources that we depend on here on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
You
hit it, Jay. Oxygen is definitely number one. We can't survive without that, right?
Water.
Water. Yep. What else?
You basically have to have a completely isolated habitat for a human being, because you can't live outside without some artificial things. So you basically are always in some sort of a confinement. Mm-hmm. Human atmosphere.
Yep.
Right along with it.
Yep.
So that's very unrealistic on a mass scale.
Right.
Now, you don't need oxygen if you do this all with Japanese robots.
No, you don't. Might need maintenance once in a while. Who else? What other challenges are there? We oxygen, we've got water, we got the atmosphere. What else? Food. Absolutely. That's another challenge. What else?
Power.
Well, that they got, that, we've got the solar power would do.
But there's a problem with that, Jay, and I'll tell you what that is. All right. So in 2012, when we started to really send rovers out there, and they're saying that Mars is littered with just crashed rovers because, like Tomas says, there's no atmosphere on Mars. They have a very, very thin atmosphere, unlike here. So what they had to learn the hard way, NASA, is that they had to get the landing right, and they just kept crashing these rovers. And that they tried one where there was balloons and it just kind of kept bouncing around, and they said, okay, well, at least it landed safely, but that wasn't a very good option due to the atmosphere, because whatever craft is moving, it's moving so fast, thousands of miles per hour, they weren't able to slow it down enough so that it lands intact. That was the biggest problem. How do we land it intact? So they finally got it right. In 2012, they sent the rover called Opportunity, and it landed. It was great. It was solar powered, just like you said, and it was doing fine until this thing happened, which happens on the Mars terrain every once in a while. Actually, it happens very often. They don't know how often it does. They have these very terrible dust storms, and it comes in and it covers everything. And what happened is that it left this thick cloud in the sky, in the air. And so that the Mars rover, after a while, basically was ineffective because it got shut off and it never turned back on because it blocked the sun's rays due to these dust storms.
This was a planet-wide?
They say planet-wide. It comes from this volcano. There was a volcano in Mars that erupted a long time ago. And then once in a while, it just have these terrible dust storms and it covers everything. So that's why solar powered would not be an option in that case, unless they solve this dust problem. So yeah, so they're famous for these dusts. There's a movie called Mission to Mars. Anyone watch that? See that? No?
Yeah, I've seen it. That's, who's the star of that? One of the top actors.
Yeah, I can't remember now, but they had two good actors in that. But there was one scene where do you remember the dust storm came and they kind of killed one of them? They got sucked in there. It was like a tornado. Do you remember that? I don't know if you remember that.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Okay.
It's not that old a film, right?
No, you can rent
3-4 years?
Yeah, well, probably a little bit longer. Probably early 2000s. But it's a good movie to watch, Mission to Mars.
Okay. I may be thinking of something else.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it comes from a volcano. They said 3 billion years ago it erupted, and now the dust from that comes and it's sticky. It sticks to anything on its that it comes in contact with. So I don't know how we would be able to survive those if we send people out there. Let's see what else. So it has no atmosphere because it has no core like us. We have a core, so that helps us to create a magnetic field. There's no core on Mars, so there's no magnetic field. So creating an atmosphere is going to be another problem. How do we create an atmosphere for people going to live there? They said it had water before. It was fine. It had lots of water, but over time, it just water disappears. So they're saying that the water is inside the Mars terrain. And it also has water at the poles. There's ice at the poles. So they're saying that if we're going to have life, we should have it close to the poles and find a way to melt the ice so that they can have water. That's an option that they're looking at. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Another option they were thinking about is to ship the water in, but they said that this is some things that because they're doing it now with the space station. They ship gallons of water in, I think once a year, and then they recycle that water. So anything, you take in the liquid, you pee, it turns into water again. But they're saying that they don't know how they'll be able to get that so far a distance and to land it safely. Landing is a big problem because of the weight and everything else. So that's one option. Or they were saying that they're going to have to find a way to produce that water. I don't know. Do you think that melting the water from the ice caps is a good idea?
Well, I don't think anybody knows whether it's really water. Has it been explored? I don't think so.
I think.
No, I'm not. I don't know.
Well, they made I don't know. You guys heard the headlines? There was a couple of years back that they found water on Mars. You guys remember that? No. Okay. So I don't think it came from the ice cap, but they were able to drill deep the rover, and they did find water. So I don't know if it's been tested. I'm gonna assume that it's good, but I don't know. But food is a big problem because you can't grow food on there.
Well, food has the same things you need for food, you need for people. Same things you need for people, you need for food.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's another problem. They were saying that hydroponics is one way that they were going to do it, is to grow everything in water and also ship in dry goods. So they'll be eating dry food for quite a while until. So I don't know. It doesn't sound.
I think you'd have to be pretty grim on the earth for that to be interesting.
Right.
Oh. And then the last thing is shelter. So they're saying, well, how they build shelter. One thing they found is that in Mars, there's these tunnels that already exist. So they're thinking of shipping a 3D printer and use that tunnel as part of the housing and create, the outer shell of it through a 3D printer. That's what they were saying. Because again, it's one of those things that Mars, it's not like you can go to Home Depot and get the equipment. You have to ship everything in. You have to, and on a rocket, it's not even like that. We forget there's nothing on Mars that we can use at all. Everything that we use, it's going to have to come from the Earth.
Oh, toilet paper.
To make us appreciate Earth all the more.
It does. It does. And my big question is, because not only us, China and Russia, they have their own Mars programs. They're spending billions of dollars that they could be putting here on Earth, which is perfect for us. It's perfect. It's got everything we need. So that's my big question. Why do you think we're not doing that?
We're fighting a virus. We don't have any shortage of expenses.
Right. So, but what do you think, Jay? Why aren't we investing that money here?
Well, I think we are. We get investments on the order of $1 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
We are spending it here.
Okay.
The economy of the world is in bad shape right now.
Right. But what I'm saying that we have this Mars program where we're investing billions of dollars to explore, and we're
billions, but not trillions.
No, not trillions yet. No. But wouldn't that money be better served here on Earth?
Sure.
Well, that's where we're spending it.
Okay.
But for
Struggle.
Earth's problem.
Earth's problem. Angie, what'd you say?
It's a power struggle between the countries,
Yeah.
They dominate,
Right.
And China and the US, definitely,
So it's almost, one scientist said this. He says Mars is almost designed as if it doesn't want us here. And when he said that, that really struck a chord on me, because there's not one single thing that can go the way that we need it to go. We have to create everything from scratch.
Who wants to go there?
Huh?
Who wants to go to Mars?
Well, they're looking at that as an option.
Ridiculous.
NASA said by 2035 that we're going to have people, we're going to send astronauts to Mars, 2035. Elon Musk jumped in there and says, no, 2027. Yes, Greg.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with the exploration. But I think I'm sort of a Christian, and the Judaic-Christian heritage, the good Lord created Earth, and he made man, and there was Adam and Eve, and Eve wasn't modest till she ate the apple. Then they had to move out to the suburbs. That's where they raised Cain. And I'm not sure the good Lord wants us out there living on the other planets.
Right.
And it's my personal feeling. He made the earth for us to live on. He made the sun to keep us warm and everything, and the moon, and the moon orbits us, and we orbit the sun. I don't think he wants us to live out there. Explore, fine. I think the good Lord above wanted to have man here on earth. Period. End of report.
It's hard to argue with that, you know.
There are large portions of the earth which are not inhabited, which could be made habitable for human beings and animals and plants much more readily than to leave the earth. Makes no sense whatsoever.
I agree, Tomas. What areas?
Well, we have large water areas, we have large desert areas, and desert areas just happen to have large temperature differences, but anything can be imported and produced there in factories. There's nothing, the technology is there. Exploration of both the colder parts of the earth and the warmer parts of the earth is quite possible. It's just equalizing the temperatures so that we can live internally, and we provide artificial illumination for human beings that want to have it. There's usually sunshine. You can go out sunshine. You have a temperature control so that you don't burn off or freeze. And otherwise you get the sun rays, which provide also for some medical benefits. So I see no reason whatsoever to go anyplace else.
I agree. Anyone else? No? Go ahead, Tomas.
There are a lot of so-called wastelands here. Could well take overpopulation away from other areas or distribute it more reasonably. Get away of nation states, become a unified human inhabitable Earth. Earth planet. Better social structure.
I agree with you. I agree with everything you said there. Anyone else agree with that, or anyone have an opinion? Angie, yeah?
No,
You agree, right? Yeah. Molly?
Okay, I agree.
You agree? Jay?
I'm embarrassed to say this. I didn't hear it that well.
Oh, well, he was saying that there's so many places on Earth that are still remote that we could build on. We can improve. There are areas that we can have people there instead of going to another planet entirely. There are places that are unexplored here. There's water bodies here.
Just take a car.
I agree with that in part.
From here, and you run into desert areas forever and ever and ever.
Sure.
And then you get into the central part of the United States. And if you go north, it gets cooler and cooler and cooler and more rainy and rainy. So all of this can be equalized if we want to provide an atmosphere which is more reasonable.
Right? It's already here for us, really. We just have to tinker it a little bit. Yeah. What about you, Tony? What is your take on that?
I'm sorry, I have to leave.
Yeah? Okay, Tony.
Yeah.
You're looking for, okay. So, I like what you said, Tomas. So my thinking is that, hey, Zach, my thinking is that do you think they're exploring Mars because they believe that we're overpopulated? Do you think that's the reason why we're looking at Mars?
I have not the faintest idea who is driving the exploration of Mars. I think it's a complete waste and unnecessary need. We have lots of social needs in this country and on the world. All over, it's a lot of inequalities unnecessarily. People are starving and living in miserable situations. And we are the lucky ones.
Yeah, we are.
We're exploiting basically and not sharing our goodies with others.
Yeah. But why do you think they're even bothering? Because, I mean, that's a major investment. There's a reason that's moving them towards this. Why do you think that is? Does anyone have any thoughts? Do you think it's overpopulation, or do you think it's something else? Who thinks it's something else?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay. I do too. Yeah, you too, Jay. What do you think? Zach, do you mind if I mute you?
You want to
mind
mute me?
I
No,
think there's background noise there. Is there back?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah?
I'll mute myself.
Okay, thanks. Jay, what do you think?
You know, the American technology, which has been the main source of economic wealth in the last 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
the technology to be talking to each other, to have what do we call it, a Zoom conference, is a remarkable technological achievement. And you know, a lot of the money for that came from a US effort to explore space, but not for any reason of need for space.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, many ways that you could achieve that.
Sure.
But for having for technological development of all kinds that come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. We do get a lot from exploration.
The going to the moon, which is what Kennedy had said we're going to try to do, was very good for American prestige in the world. Really established us as the unique power in the world.
Yep.
But did we need it? I don't know. I would say the answer is yes. Not for the land that we got on the moon. To go back a step from Mars. I'm not ready for Mars. But
hold on, Tomas. Hold on, Tomas.
But we developed many technologies, and I would say that the communications technology, we're just exploring this outgrowth of space exploration.
Right.
You could say there is a direct lineage from Kennedy saying we're going to the moon to conference, the Zoom conference is a direct line.
I do agree with you. Yeah, you know, fiber optics was a big thing that they got from the moon landing and stuff like that. So yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Say it again. What?
Well, they were saying fiber optics is one of the main things.
Fiber optics, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it is a good thing, but this is a major investment, huh?
Fiber optics came from Corning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Dow Corning.
Experiment after experiment, I had some connection with that.
Oh yeah.
Experiment after experiment, where the fibers got better and better from the point of view of their ability to transmit light, laser light, from one point to another.
It's incredible.
Remarkable.
That is remarkable. I mean, I don't know where we'd be without that, for sure.
Was that Corning up in New York State?
Greg, is that you?
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm still alive this afternoon. Was that Corning up in New York State?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, down Corning.
There was a series of theoretical predictions of what the loss of the light would be. And every time they did it, they put together a fiber. It was only they knew what glass really was.
Yeah.
It got better and better, always beat the predictions.
Yeah.
For a period of time.
That's pretty cool.
Corning glass.
Corning glass. Tomas, did you want to say something? We were going to say something.
I think there's so many things we can do right here on Earth.
Yeah.
Lots of the technology is there. We just have to put the goals where we need to do it and get humanity oriented, including also the other animals in the world. We call ourselves human animals, but we are also animals.
Yeah.
We have lots of similarities which we want to share with some of the other level beings on Earth.
Yeah. Joan, I wanted to get your take. Why do you think that they're exploring Mars right now, if it's not for overpopulation?
I think it's ego.
You think it's ego?
Elon Musk. I'm going to do it sooner and bigger and better. And I don't really know.
Okay.
But you know what, I don't know that you would want to go back to it, but at the very beginning, you gave us some detail about all the continents except Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the people don't have Zoom every day.
Yeah.
You do have bunches of children and maybe not enough food. Education is, so, yeah, did you have comparisons among the different countries in Africa?
Sure.
Different, I'm just curious.
Okay, yeah. So, and you're right. I'm glad you reminded me. So, Niger is right now the most populous place in Africa. So they're at 1.95 million. All right. They're saying right now that Africa, it's 46 countries in Africa. So the total of them, they make up 1.21 billion people.
It's like India.
It is like India. India is 1.35. So they're right behind India. And China is 1.4. So yeah, they're right behind. But they're saying that they're going to have a boom, and they're saying that Africa could reach 4 billion. They could reach 4 billion by 2100 if they continue at this rate of, this fertility of 4 or 5 kids. And now, because of modern medicine, they're living longer. They've got, a lot of the diseases under control. Huh?
And they have lots of resources.
And they have a lot. The problem with Africa is that they're so fractured. Yeah. They're still recovering from colonization from,
46 countries?
46 countries, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's so widespread. It's incredible. It's a continent like none other. But they because of politics, government, a civil war, colonization that just 50, 60 years ago, they have a lot of challenges ahead of them. But they're saying that to help them, they'd have to have the infrastructure and also education. If they can get those two things, they can be able to, level off a little bit.
What is the population of Africa, North and South Africa?
You said 1.21.
Yeah, 1.21 billion.
What is it for South Africa?
Oh, so I have to look that up. I didn't see, because if I started that, I know Ethiopia is second. So let me take a quick look at South Africa.
They must be the biggest.
It was similar, and China was 1.4 billion.
Yeah. So South Africa population. Okay, so South Africa is 58,775,000.
Yeah, no, but Nigeria is a very rich country too.
So Nigeria is the one that's most developed, and they're saying that's going to be the one. Yeah. So you've been doing your research.
Maybe the biggest city.
Which one?
Nairobi, is that the biggest city in Africa?
I don't know. I have to research. I'd have to do a whole piece on Africa. There's just so much. It's just all over the place. But that's where most of the population is going to be 20 years from now, Jay.
20 years from now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 20. If we continue at this rate, where we have a dropping fertility rate in Europe and the US and Asia, but they're rising. So it's going to be a shift in 20 years. If things continue like that, we never know what can happen, but if they continue at this rate, 20 years from now, they'll be the most populous. But we never know. This is the thing about this world. We just never know what's going to happen next year or tomorrow, as we know. But just to wrap this up, one thing that I didn't mention is that they're taking seriously in terms of Mars being an option, a second option, is that they're saying there's a possibility that we could either get hit by an asteroid that's been around for a long time. They're saying that there's a real serious possibility, or global the climate change, global warming can actually do us in. If Yellowstone National Park erupts and we have other eruptions, we could really be in for a serious problem here on Earth. And I think that's why they're kind of hedging their bets and say, let's go to plan B. Let's start working on this. That's what I think. I don't think they're doing it because we're overpopulated. I think they're planning for a major catastrophe and having a plan B in place. That's what I think.
Huh.
I know it's crazy, but and then for Elon,
an epidemic, a pandemic could arrive that goes off a critical number of people. That's true.
But even if you look at this pandemic now that they're calling it pandemic, it's about a 1 or 2%, depending on where you live, mortality rate. There's a lot more survivors than there are people who are falling prey to that.
But it could be the other way around too.
It could be, but our medicine is so good that I think we will be able to catch it before it becomes like a bubonic plague or the death plague or something like that. I don't think we'll ever experience something like that, in my opinion. But if you look at the numbers, Jay, there are people who are surviving this, no problem. And there are people who, one person has it in a household, but everyone else is fine. So it's not working like plagues in the past where everyone who comes in contact will get it. So yeah, but that's a different story. But hey, Susan. So we'll just wrap it up with that. Is that that's what I think. I think that they're hedging their bets in case something happens to this earth. They want to have another home, but
that's interesting. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. And Elon Musk, he's not a stupid person. He's he's one of the smartest people on this planet. Yeah, Greg.
I'm just thinking, you know, the Lord created the earth and Adam and Eve and came along.
Yes.
And then along came, you know, there was Moses and the late JC of biblical things.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be an end of the world.
Yes.
Sometime.
Yeah.
When's it going to be? How's it going to come? So,
that's a good question.
The Lord will come back to this earth at the end, and there will be a final judgment on all.
Yes.
Remain.
We're going to wrap it up with this. Do you feel like we're headed into the end times?
Into what?
The end times. The you know, that time that Greg was talking about, where it's that's it. Do you feel like we're headed there?
No.
No? 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 Maybe?
Zach, your mic is open.
Huh?
We can hear everything you're doing there. Moving papers around and everything else.
Okay.
Let's just mute your mic.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
He has to mute himself. Well, again, we'll see what happens. We're living in very interesting times. I think we can all agree with that.
Yes.
Right? Very, very interesting times. So
It's coming up.
Is this the end of this series, or do we?
I'm going to change it where it's not future based, but it's kind of like topics that are interesting like this, but it won't be geared towards the future.
Okay, thank you.
I really stretched you guys, I know, and you know.
I'm very happy
What
about
did it? Huh?
I'm very happy about it.
Oh, you are?
Let's try to get in. Yeah. But I want to show you something.
Oh my God, you got
I haven't
it.
got it yet. I just got it. Yeah.
You'll have to give me your feedback, and I'll have to sign it when I see you.
Oh yeah. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Once again.
She got my book. Thank you. Yeah, it's been doing very well. It's been good. So thank you. All right, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the talk. I hope that you are feeling okay about this. Yeah.
We have to learn.
You have to learn. We have to keep up with what's going on. I agree. I agree.
This is my very first Zoom experience.
Well, I hope you join us from now on, Greg. We love having you. Yeah. And Jay, thank you. Susan, thank you.
Greg, you're very dark on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get someplace where the window is shining light on you.
I'm not gonna move this computer.
Yeah, I'll talk to Tanya. Maybe we can get him a little lamp or something. So.
Well, we got the light on right above me here.
Yeah, but
we don't want to miss his prediction of the
Shine
end of
on
the
your
year.
face.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I don't want to break the camera with my ugliness either.
You look good from here.
You do. You look good. You look good, Greg. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Nice to see everybody.
Thank you.
Nice to see everybody.
Bye.
Good to see